Hello, welcome to the Daily Transfer Show. We're talking all things transfers. Everton aren't doing much, so we'll talk about everybody else. But I mean, there is an Everton story on there, which we will discuss in a minute. But quite clearly, the biggest transfer so far, obviously, Cody Gakpo will be the biggest one in money terms right now until Chelsea sign Enzo. Although he scored last night and tapped the Benfica badge. People go, oh, yeah, that's what I thought. But Joao Felix has completed his loan deal from Atletico Madrid to Chelsea. No buy clause.
You're speaking a different language.
Yeah, sorry.
No
buy clause in the deal. He's just actually extended his Atletico contract.
Has he?
So what a lot of the Spanish journalists are saying is Simeone's definitely off, and therefore he doesn't like him. So when he goes, they've still got Joao Felix, and it's an opportunity for him to play games, which is an interesting one. £11 million for the loan. It's costing Chelsea for 5 months for a player they can't own.
Right, can I ask you a question?
Well, they haven't, 100%.
No. Is he that good?
What I would say about him is technically really good. Physically,
built like Ned.
And therefore that'll be the key thing. Now, Chelsea, it might be those odd games where they're struggling and he's got a little bit of craft to create something, but that isn't the only worry. Technically, he's brilliant and should be very, very good. But the Premier League has, spat lots of people out and it chewed them up and spat them out, whether they're technically good, even when they've been technically good. So it'll be an interesting one for Chelsea, and obviously they're still chasing Mudryk as well. So they've got, Ted, big Ted is giving them the money out. Well, I've seen a story today just on the back of that, and it's all obviously
because his staff are fully in charge now, aren't they?
Yeah, Bowley staff.
Ted,
Oh,
the new ones.
Yeah.
That because Ted was in charge.
Ted took it over, but he's got
people.
Yeah, they've given them whoever the recruitment team is there. But there's a story today saying that they've lined up Pochettino for the Chelsea job. Potter's got 2 games to save his job and all that, which is to me is a bit.
It's a complete rebuild.
I can't. Yeah, what they really should do is double down on Potter and go, we're rebuilding something to create something that's going to be here for a while. Not that Pochettino wasn't good, because of course he is, and that is very much like old Chelsea. It's Big Ted's trying to create something new. They need to almost double down on Potter, don't they?
Yeah, because he's not the kind of manager who. Number one, this is his first big job, isn't it? So he's not the kind of manager, though, I don't think can go in somewhere and just wave a magic wand and make everything better. I think he has to. He has to be given time to build, like he was at Brighton. He's that kind of manager. He's not a. And I know he would have been aware when he went there that how it is, but he isn't that manager. He isn't that straight away. He has to build a baseline, and he has to build up from that, and then everyone has got to play his way. I just think it's very, very foolish, very foolish if they sack him without giving him the chance. But that's what big clubs do. They're impatient. They're impatient for success. But sometimes look at Arsenal. We all criticised them, or we all thought they'd sack Arteta, but they had complete faith in it. And I think that's what you got to do. You got to have faith in a project. Back the manager well. Allow him to make decisions that are important, like when Arteta was allowed to, get rid of Aubameyang and stuff like that. And I think if you watch the documentary, it gives you really good insight to why they did it and how they did it, and it was a really interesting process. And yeah, he's got to be allowed, because what's the point otherwise?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Well, interestingly, you just mentioned Aubameyang. The rumours that he could be off to Spain again. Obviously, Joao Felix coming in. His game time, apparently, he's worried about his game time being limited, and it hasn't really worked for Chelsea. Is he someone you'd take a chance on at Everton?
No, it's not a chance.
For a few months,
not a chance.
Because it's character, isn't it?
Goals,
as you saw in that thing.
Goals and
goals.
he's a bit of a Ted.
Money and all that.
Yeah, but
So he may well be going back to Spain, apparently. So that'll be interesting to see what they do.
What about you just mentioned there? Just Pochettino going to Chelsea. What about Pochettino going to Atletico Madrid? Surely that to me feels like a
good fit.
Really easy fit, doesn't it? They want to move on from the pragmatic Simone, but Pochettino isn't like a leap all the way over there. It's just a sidestep in a way of his style. He's pragmatic with a bit more attacking sense. Obviously, he's Argentinian, so straight away that's sorted. That to me makes sense. Thinking about it.
Chelsea, if Potter doesn't work in the summer, Simeone to Everton.
Oh, mate,
We've had that conversation.
Without being silly.
No.
Oh my God, he'd be my absolute dream. Like, I know people don't like his footy, but just watching the documentary on him, just the fella is just incredible. Yeah, the standards he sets.
He gets up in the middle of the night and goes to the training ground.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, I mean, Pochettino to Atletico, yeah, makes sense. Managed there before, hasn't he, in Spain? Albeit at Espanyol. But depends whether this Premier League lag hooks them, doesn't it? It gives them that hook, doesn't it? And, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You want to hear the biggest deal of the day? Potentially.
Come on.
The Saudi government fund are buying WWE.
Are they? Yeah. Piff. Newcastle buying WWE.
That's horrible.
That's the way it is. That's life.
That just shows you another thing they're trying to get the pause into.
Sports wash, maybe. Well, Weghorst deal agreed in principle between Burnley and Manchester United. I was just saying to Ned before, keep forgetting he's still owned by Burnley, isn't he? He's only on loan at Besiktas, wasn't he?
Someone else is still owned by Burnley.
So,
anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, that deal looks like that's going to go through as well. You surprised by that deal? Come from a bit of left field, didn't it?
I don't know. He's got a decent track record of the way of his style. Just because he plays for Burnley and he's into... Don't forget, like, he was bought by Burnley to come in and try and keep them up. It never worked. So obviously they couldn't afford to keep him. So it was just like go on loan somewhere where Turkey sound dead quick. So I think we've seen Man United do this before. Never, make signings in January. You go, that's a bit strange, but they played last night. Obviously still in the FA Cup. They're pushing in the Premier League. They've got Barcelona in the Europa League.
Yeah.
So and they'll fancy that. Barcelona not great. So that's though.
Well, Wout's record. Emin, 20 goals in 62 games when he started off. Heracles, 20 in 64 for them. AZ Alkmaar, 31 in 60. Wolfsburg, 60 in 118.
That's a good record, that.
Burnley, 2 in 20.
That's a good record at Wolfsburg.
Besiktas, 8 in 16. So he's essentially started off as a 1 in 3.
Yeah.
And it went through a 1 in 2 everywhere, bar Burnley, which is the Premier League.
I think we should have got him then.
Everton, yeah. And he's got 5 in 19
Dutch,
for Holland. 5 in 19 for Holland.
Same as the manager. Probably share the same agent, I'd imagine.
30 years of age, but
I think that's
6'6", he's a handful.
That makes sense, though. Just having someone that you can bring off the bench, or they're in 4 competitions. People will
target man as well.
People will laugh at that and go, "Oh, what's the?" But it's like there's a lot of games where Man United could do with someone like him, and just bring him on and or have him start the game.
We'd have him, wouldn't we?
I'd have him in a heartbeat, mate.
Everton would have him.
He'd be
exactly
what we need right now.
Get in that team, be in that team. Let's be honest.
I don't think at this stage of the season, I don't think you can scoff at something like that. They're still in 4 competitions.
No,
when
it's
I say
just
4 competitions. What I mean is in the Premier League, they're trying to get Champions League.
I just mean it obviously is a slight. You go, it's strange. It's come a bit left field because
who did he have last year?
Well, no. But I'm saying it's come a little bit left field, and it just slightly because no one would have put them together. But it don't, like you say.
But he had the target man last year.
No, I know.
Didn't he? And Cavani scored goals.
No, I know.
And
he's doing really well this season.
He popped up and scored goals, and it worked. So why not go back for the little bit of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that one looks like that one looks like that's going
I've
to
got
be
another big transfer for you.
done. Mathew Litherland on the super chat. This is an Everton thing. Says if we lose against Southampton, what changes or happens after that? If Everton lose against Southampton, I imagine the manager will be sacked on Saturday night. They'll park him. They've got to. They'll have to, won't they? Because they'll have lost 5 home matches on the run, and 4 of them will have been against teams in the bottom 3 at the time of playing them. Or 3 of them will be teams in the bottom 3, and then obviously Brighton were halfway up. Manchester United were higher than that, but they'd lost 5 home games on the spin. You can't, and 1 win in 13. You're not surviving that. We said this with Benitez last season. It was the Norwich game. And it was like, if he loses, he'll be gone. And we lost. Now I think Everton will win Saturday because I think the crowd will. But it's a huge game for Everton. My issue is Everton winning on Saturday doesn't really change much if they go to West Ham and get beat. I think if they go to West Ham and lose the week later, he could well be sacked then, because they've got a 2-week break then before they play Arsenal at home, which is a hugely tough game. I'm not saying it's the right decision or the wrong decision to sack him or keep him, whatever. I'm just saying.
Oh, it'd be the right decision to sack him.
Well, if they lose, if they lose on Saturday, as much as he comes across well and I think he wants to do well and all that, results are all that matter in this league. And if you then lose another home game to a team round you again, a team who's bottom of the league, then how can you argue that you should stay? Yeah. Regardless of what Everton do on Saturday, obviously there's a protest that'll still take place, whether Everton win 3 or 4-0 or Everton get beat 3 or 4-0. It might be a bit angrier and a bit louder if Everton lose, but I imagine a lot of people are already angry as to this. We're here again a year later, Mathew. So I think that's what happens on Saturday. It's over to the players and the manager. The players really want to keep this manager in place. They better start winning some football games for him. Yeah. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Really.
Do you want to hear my second transfer?
Go on.
Solomon Rondon to River Plate.
River Plate? Fair.
What a step up.
He's gone full Martinez. He's fallen upwards. Ow. He'll go there and score goals. Yeah. People are going, why didn't we just keep him? He got 6 and 8. Could have kept us up. Big Sally. There you go. Yeah. Fair play to him. Dom 1878 says, do you think we will get Dan Juma? I don't know is the answer. Obviously Aston Villa are credited with an interest in him. I imagine if they can agree a deal and it's up to the lad, I imagine the lad will go to Villa with Emery because he's played under him before. It's Setien who's there at the moment who's not playing him, which is why he wants out, but he had a very good season last season under Emery for Villarreal. I guess if Everton are as advanced as the Spanish media seem to think, which I never ever trust them, and once it appears in market, it's utter lies, according to other, looking at other stories. Everton would have to get get it so far down the line, I think, to be able to fend off interest from Aston Villa. But I don't know. I'll be honest. Someone asked me before who would Wanderlust, Dan Juma, or he's put Uachi in, but Uatara, I think he's talking about. Which one is it? For me, I would have Uatara over Dan Juma. I think he's 20 and got a high edge ceiling. Not that Dan Juma isn't good, because he is and he's direct, but I would have Uatara. If I could choose, that would be the one. Will Everton end up with either of them? God knows. That's the reality, isn't it? Wanderlust also says Everton throwing the first third of the transfer window from the same folks who brought you Everton throwing the first 7 of the season.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it? It's exactly it.
As I said before, seen Dan Ashworth last night on Sky, head of the Newcastle game, talking about what they're trying to do, what their transfer windows, being 2 transfer windows ahead, already got someone planned out, so they'll already be looking to know what they want in January in terms of stepping it up. Coming out, talking about it. I know Newcastle are doing well, so that's dead easy to do. But it was refreshing to see that. Refreshing to see someone speaking so openly about what the club need and
I've
what.
seen him do that for Brighton when he was at Brighton.
No.
He's tremendous at it.
So good to see that though. You know, Everton got beat a week ago by Brighton, over a week ago now.
Over a week ago.
And we haven't heard a peep out of them. And, you know, obviously we had the Man United game in between.
What do you say to people who have seen this on a couple of the videos that other people have talked about, who we've interviewed, and a couple of comments, because you said they want to hear, and some people are like, well, what do you want them to say? You know, no other club does it and all that. But some clubs do. Face it head on, they do. Some clubs don't need it. If this was, what I would say, and you can answer this now, but my opinion is, you know, if this was a anomaly this season, if Everton were like quite stable most seasons and decent or whatever, and this season they were just having an absolute nightmare because things had gone wrong and maybe the club's made a few mistakes, but in general, all around this season, the club had done things as good as they could. You know, not to the extent of being able to buy whoever they want, but we were just ticking along, and this was just one of those seasons. I would agree with some of them people and go, lads, come on. Or whoever it is, lads, girls, whoever it is who's not happy, like, just that we are having one of them seasons, there's probably factored. But I think the problem for everybody, and this is basically where this demonstration's going to come from, is this just feels like it's just every year now. Yeah. And after last year you could argue was the anomaly. They could have argued that away. Listen, we just had we made the wrong choice at the manager. Things went wrong. We got injuries. Things were against us, and we've ended up here. But we've got to survive. It won't happen again. And we could have just got that. And I think a lot of people, to the annoyance of Ped as well, but a lot of people I think did just kind of go, all right, just get that under the carpet. Let's see where we go now. But we're here again. We're at. It's almost, when you talk back the results and where we are, and the position of the club, it's like going back to last January. Nothing's all over again. Not a year's gone, and we're back in the same, exactly same.
People, that's the thing you said before is one of the biggest issues that I have. When you say no one else does it, right? And I've said this to you lots of times. I don't care what other clubs do, right? I only care about what Everton do. And I want Everton to be the first club to go, because they love saying they're the first club to do this and the first club to do that and the first club to send stuff out on mobile phone text and all that crap. I want Everton to be the first club. And I know that there was a man who used to work at Everton who was trying to do these kinds of things. I want Everton to be the first club that sends out a director of football to have an open forum with members or fans, whatever. I want Everton to be the first to do all kinds. I want them to be the club that sets the trend, not follows the trend. I want people to go, well, you know what? This is a club on the up because they are trying to communicate with their fans. They are trying to speak. They speak to the media. They speak to the club in the fans in a different way. We've sat in here and we've had loads of ideas together, and we know for a fact Everton have took some of those ideas away and used them. We know that for an absolute fact, and that's not me going or us going, oh, look at us, we're boss. We know for a fact Everton have took ideas that we've suggested to them that we'd like to do away. And there's loads of stuff where they could go, oh, no one else does that. And then you go, why? Like, so right now, Manchester City, Steve Kelly keeps on telling me to watch. There's a document. Man City did the Amazon documentary, and now they're doing their own documentaries. They put them on YouTube. They have a channel where people pay £2 a month for. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. And they do their own documentaries, right?
Brilliant.
Why haven't Everton been doing that for years? Why haven't Everton making loads of content, their own content? Why haven't they got a £2 a month channel where there's loads of content, and it is actually and Kevin Felwell's on it once a month, and Frank Lampard sits down with someone once a week and does a proper in-depth conversation about what's gone on. Why aren't these things being addressed? Why isn't Kevin Felwell coming out at the beginning of the transfer window going, right, I understand people are desperate for a striker here, and I can't reveal the plan, but these are the issues a club like Everton face. The issues being we've just had a World Cup, clubs are maybe not willing to sell, and it's going to take a little bit of time, and I'm explaining that to you so that you're not complaining every single day about where is a striker. And what is it? It's the 11th today. And we're no closer to getting a striker by the looks of it. Why not set that out at the beginning of the month? Why not speak to the fan? Everton Football Club are in a very unique place that if you took away the fans, the local fans, you would not have a football club. You would not have a football club. We don't. Loads of fans aren't coming. Loads of day trippers aren't coming to take our places. We're not Liverpool. No. Where Liverpool fans complain that they can't get tickets because it's all catered to fans from abroad or because when they come
successful enough to be that.
No, I know, but that's the point, isn't it? When they come and they buy shirts and all. Liverpool want that to Disneyland, then it once a year for them. Everton don't have that luxury, so you got to look after your fans. You've got to look after them because when they turn on you, it gets horrible. It gets horrible. And what's been happening really recently is, without being on my soapboxes, it's happening more and more and more. So if it's happening more and more and more, then there must be an issue. If your car is going in the garage more and more and more and more, and you're having to spend more and more money on it, it's time to sell your car.
No.
Right. Isn't no.
Right. No, it is.
It's not a personal dig.
But it is because
it is though, isn't it? It's time to sell your car.
Yeah.
This is not an intervention, by the way.
It feels
Didn't
like
have your missus on the phone going, can you somehow get Baz to sell his car? But it's time to sell your car, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the same with the football club. We're going back all the time. Something has to change. And it can't just be the man. That's why I don't sit here every day going, Frank Lampard should be sacked. I just don't see the point. I honestly don't see the point
of sacking him.
No, what I mean is, I do think there is a point in sacking him. Don't get me wrong. I do think because I think
if you're looking at overall,
if you want to save yourself this season, then of course you would look at sacking him. But what I mean by that is that that's not where the big problem lies, is it? Do you know what I mean?
No,
it's
there's
not
a
where
bigger problem.
It's not where if you. You know what I mean? It's
I get it.
If you get a big cut on your arm and you know it needs stitches, if you put a plaster on it,
still
might be fine for a little bit, or you take a tablet to get rid of the pain. You still got a big hole in your arm, haven't you? And this is the issue with Everton, as far as I can see. I want Everton to be the club that, all right, mightn't have all the money in the world, but does things a little bit different than everyone else. I want them to have I want them to speak to the fans. I want them to have a channel where they speak to the fans. I would love Everton if they did what we did and have a phone in every week and got a couple of players and did it out. No, but this is the thing. People are always saying, you can't. Someday, someone...
Everton won't.
No, I know. But someday someone will, and everyone will go, that's a success. Everton could do what we do. Everton could make sure that the callers are not vetted, but like the way we do it, to run through our Premier, so we know who they all are. They could do things like that. They could do what they used to... And when Alan Mars was at the club and at the tea parties...
I just don't think that to me wouldn't make any difference right now. I agree with you. There's loads. Certainly, like the paid channel and do things behind the scenes and do this and do that. They could do something like that.
But what I mean is,
a revenue leader, but also prepare their own
What I mean is, though, it opens up the line of communication.
Of course it does.
And once you open up the line of communication,
you've got to have someone in the
exactly.
building.
I know, and this is why
is
why they need a clean sweep.
And listen, there might be people
and they might be stunted
want to do it and they're not allowed to do it.
But communication,
that's the problem.
Communication has to start somewhere, and it this is the problem with the football club. They don't talk to anybody. They shut down.
Yeah.
They completely shut down. They go dark. Oh, don't. Whereas what they should be doing is saying, right, we understand your issues, and you're heading off. You're not saying don't have a protest. What they're saying is we're going to head that off by saying, right, these are the challenges.
Yeah.
Get Kevin Felwell and get Frank Lampard in a room with a competent interviewer and say, right, what are the challenges at this football club?
They should have done this in December. Mate.
Exactly. That's the point.
But they don't listen, do they? That's the way it is. We told them they don't listen. So let us do it then. If you don't want to do it, let us do it. But hey ho. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Much appreciated. We're very, very close to 75,000 subscribers. So if you can subscribe, that's fantastic. Hit the like button. We do.
But I tell you
we do appreciate it, and it does make.
Tell you nothing about Newcastle. right? So they got through last night. First, they're in the first semi-final,
Ages,
probably since '99, I'd imagine.
Since Souness was in charge.
Whenever that was. The atmosphere at that club's completely changed.
Of course it is.
It's
12 months it's changed.
Completely changed. The atmosphere now is of hope and expectation, but not expectation that exceeds to the point where
won't be long for it.
No, but that's fine.
But now,
but that's fine.
Well.
But it's expectation that is with everyone else, because everyone's got an
everyone's
expectation.
Together.
But that club has wholly changed because they got rid of everybody. 6
of the players who started last night were 6 of Steve Bruce's players, and yet they're in the semi-final, 3rd in the league. They're doing tremendously well. The crowd are behind them. Fantastic turnaround in 12 months. And people are seeing it yesterday. We mentioned them, and someone's like, "We're not Newcastle. What do you?" It's like, what? I'm going, what? We're not Newcastle, being laughed at for years, and sympathised with as well, because you looked at them and went, well, imagine that. Imagine going a match with no hope because Ashley had no interest. You couldn't have been in a worse place. I'd suggest they were in a much worse place than what Everton are right now, because it doesn't matter the difference between Everton and Newcastle is our owner wants to spend some money and can't. Their owner, they could have spent more money than he did, but he had no interest in doing it. And that's a difficult thing. But they have done brilliantly. Got on momentum going fantastically well. Done tremendously. Bought the right players. Fantastic. And they're doing well. And fair play to them. They've had to put up with crap for years. So fair play to them.
There is a trust thing there as well, because a lot of people will be... You could have a situation with someone like Newcastle in January. People are like, why aren't we buying someone? We're in the top 4. We should be kicking on right now. But I think having someone like Dana Swift coming out and talking and saying, we've got a plan and we don't want to rush the plan.
Don't forget as well, they can't just blindly spend
money. No, I know, but...
So having the plan is key. We weren't. We had no plan.
That's what I'm saying.
We were just like, oh, I've got money in my pocket here, it's burning a hole.
So having Dan Ashworth come out and talk to the fans and explain what the plan is,
it's tremendous.
That buys patience. It buys patience.
We've said it for years, and we know that there's good people at the football club who totally agree with what we're saying. When you go silent and you go dark, you allow everybody else to fill the narrative. Yeah. Evertonians are worried. Yeah. They're more worried now than they were 12 months ago. And they were worried 12 months ago. Right? Hiding, saying nothing, having no obvious plan. And I'll tell you why they've got no plan, because no one knows about it. Even if it was a skeleton plan. Links with players are few and far between. That, by the way, that doesn't mean Everton, and I've spoke to people within the club and who aren't in the club. Everton are talking to 3 or 4 players. Fair play. Talking to players is great, or talking to agents is great. We've got to get them through the door. Games are flying by. I'll be honest, even in my most negative state, I didn't think this game on Saturday would come without a new addition. I really didn't. I knew people say we need 3 and 4, and I agree. But I did not believe Saturday's match would arrive and Everton wouldn't have strengthened their squad. Now, okay, it's Wednesday. They may well do it. Who knows, right? What I would say is it's more than likely that even if they do, the player's not going to be in their squad on Saturday. Even if they did manage to bring someone in, he's not going to be involved on Saturday. So I'd never and I know people probably call me stupid and all that, but sometimes you've got to give people a little bit of credit and go, well, I believed they would all have a handle on this enough to at least change the mood by getting someone in. Now, for every time I say that, someone will come back. Dan Ashworth probably said the same with Newcastle last night. It's not about just getting someone in. It's about getting someone in who's going to improve. Yeah. Now, okay, it was probably easy for Everton to bring a player in on the 1st of January. But if that player comes in and then is Anwar El Ghazi and just sits on the bench or isn't included, it's pointless. You're clogging up wages and all. So I get that there's challenges. And every football club has got them. I get it. But we should have been working harder than anybody else for this, because not only... It's great if Kevin Thelwell's working in the background, which we know he is, and he's putting processes in, which we know he is, and he's dragging up Everton up to probably just where you'd just expect the Premier League club structure to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he might deserve some credit for that, but overall, Everton should have had this done years ago. And that work, we've said before, mightn't show for 2 years what he's done. Dan Ashworth's talking about it last night. We've got a plan for it, and some of their plans won't come to fruition for a couple of years. Get that? But Everton need results right this minute. Everton need results right now, and they need a change in optimism right now. It's a case of, we've said it all week, it's a case of when and not if now the board changes. It really is. In terms for people, they can think they can ride it out and keep head down, and we get a couple of wins and 2 strikers, and everyone will go, no, the sound. It won't now. I don't believe anyway. I think it's gone too far one way for it to come back now. They've damaged themselves by not increasing the board and by not doing the things that we expect as fans. And therefore we have to move very quickly. We have to get it done just to give the team a little bit of oxygen to try and give them a fighting chance. Because it's more than just the team this affects as well. This affects people who work at the football club's lives at a time when everybody is struggling. Everybody is struggling. And yet you could have 50% of the workforce that lose their job because the football club's relegated. You've got people on the stadium. You know, the stadium looks tremendous. It's getting better every single day. But a relegation doesn't help, does it? And then also what happens in the summer, you're clearing people out. So everyone have got to be very, very careful. And that's why I am a little bit surprised. But it is the caveat is it is a difficult window, but even so, they've got to move on it. Pedro Porro, Spurs, he's their priority, the right back, but Chelsea are trying to pinch him and are hovering in the background. 45 million release clause he's got. I mean, Chelsea, I know they create a lot of money, but they've spent unbelievable amounts of money without
Chelsea. I don't think people understand how much money Chelsea create, though. They are like their wage was
huge.
I know, but they are like the biggest club in America.
Yeah, but it's how much that brings in.
Kids, right? They sign. Look at the sponsorship deals they sign. They sign huge deals. Huge deals they sign. Honestly, people be surprised that the turnover of players.
But I'm only going back to like Abramovich had to put 250 million into them last season because they had a big hole in their budget. Yeah. So they kind of created that.
They're in credit. Again. They're in a lot of credit. They're in a lot of credit, honestly.
See, this is what makes me laugh with like
might last forever because of the stadium, but
makes me laugh with Mashiri when people go, he's put this much in, he's put that much in. Well, mate, there's ways round. He could easily. John Blaine said this, he could gift Everton money which would reduce certain things.
He'd say he has gifted the money with the stadium.
He's going to get money back, isn't he?
Is he though?
All the money that he's put in, a lot of it is Everton's money.
No, I know, but
if he walked away today, Everton would be 500 million in debt.
Everton still own money, don't they?
They do owe him money. He has, everything he's put in, I think I'm right in saying, has generally been shit. He's got something for it.
He's got shares.
And he's also got loans, which, I mean, a lot of other clubs. I mean, Brighton are 220 million in debt.
I don't think anyone can...
Do you know what I mean?
The question is, I don't think anyone can criticise Farhad Mashiri for what he's put in. I mean, there'll be 2 questions. Well, not 2 questions as such. There's 2 ways, there's 2 things. Number one, fine, you put loads of money in, but you wasted it all.
Yeah.
And the other is, was it really your money?
Of course, yeah.
So... Because it does seem to have got massively worse since
it's changed.
The other fella.
Well, since the fella who's worth 18 billion and was bankrolling it and wanted to spend. You know, this is the fella who told Carlo Ancelotti he was going to give him 500 million in that transfer window, the second transfer window, and then obviously when people at the football club were like, we doesn't matter if you give him 500 million, we can't spend it.
There you go. That's because
his money's being dried up. So. Anyway, West Ham apparently are keeping tabs on Carlos Corberán, the West Brom manager, for if David Moyes loses his job this weekend.
He's done well since
he has done very well. He's done very well. West Ham did have a good win the other day, Brentford in the FA Cup. Big win for Moyes.
Aston Villa working on a deal for Guendouzi.
Yeah.
From Marseille.
Yeah. He's done quite well, hasn't he? Seen a couple of Arsenal fans saying we should have got him. Playing in midfield there. the anchor and doing really well. So Manchester United brought on young striker Facundo Pellistri last night. He signed in 2020 under Solskjaer. Had to wait for his debut, but he come on last night, 21. Ten Hag is very, very happy with him. So I mean, it is, in general, it is quiet around the transfer window. There's, there is clubs making moves. It is difficult. I do understand it is difficult at this time of the year. But what I would suggest is it's difficult, I think, for some clubs who are looking to kick on. I think that's where it's difficult for, for the likes of Newcastle, say, or an Arsenal. It's difficult to get those players that are going to give them that extra thing. I think for someone like us, where you're looking, we've literally just got a big hole in the roof and we don't know how to fit. That's what it looks like. We don't know what to do with it. And maybe that's why Everton are going, well, we're going to try and get a loan, because what money we want to spend in the summer, we don't want to blow now if we know that it doesn't make us massively better. But you've got to deal with it now, because your summer targets are going to change anyway if you're in the Championship. It's going to be a totally different style of football, a totally different kind of football, isn't it? Yeah. So, Tyler Morton has signed a long-term contract with Liverpool, 20-year-old, who is on loan at Blackburn, as committed.
Probably get 40 million for him in the summer.
I imagine. Jamal Lowe is about to move from Bournemouth to Queen's Park Rangers. He's done his medical this afternoon. And Crawley have appointed Scott Lindsay as their latest manager. Lindsay left his role as Swindon boss to join Leeds 2 rivals on a 2.5-year contract, replacing former West Ham winger Mathew Etherington, who was sacked last month after just 32 days in charge. Makes Everton look like a long-term management. Do you expect anything from Everton this week before the Southampton game? No.
Press conference on Friday, and that'll be it.
That'll be it in terms of any kind of any signing or any
Wednesday,
communication.
Wednesday now. So
it's a bit sad,
poor.
Let's just quickly do a couple of comments before we move on. Where are we?
Pulisic's out for a couple of months.
Is he?
Yeah. So
it's not great. Just looking here. Sam, 1878, Henry says, we had the resources, Newcastle haven't wasted it. Yeah, it's a fair comment, mate. Newcastle had a large stadium already built. We're in the process of building one which is bleeding money every day. Definitely not a direct comparison there.
I think there is.
I know. This is the best one from the Blues, and the Blues is normally alright, but this is the best one. Can't pretend we've got the same resources as Newcastle, Baz. We can't do what did they do? Literally, what have they done? They spent 160 million. Go and look at how much Mashiri spent in the first 12 months. That to me, you're normally quite, I can see where you come. That is nonsense. Yeah. If Newcastle spend 800 million in the next 2 seasons, I'll sit with you and go, you know what, you were right there. Newcastle have got loads of wealth, right? Let's be quite clear as well. Just because that PIF are worth 300 billion, Newcastle aren't worth 300 billion, are they? They're just not.
But even if they are, right? Even if they are,
can't spend it.
That's not the argument, is it? The argument is that they've put all the right things in place and they're communicating with the fans. This is a club that 12 months ago was just about starting to get itself out away from the bottom three by bringing in good players, good solid acquisitions and where they needed them. They had good attackers. They just had a terrible backline. They addressed it. They turned things around with the manager. They went after Ashworth, who got obviously different things, gardening leave and all that for Brighton. But they haven't in a year. They haven't spent their way out of trouble, have they? What they've done is, we're not talking about how much money they've got, by the way, or the stadium. What we're talking about is a plan, having a plan, sticking to a plan, getting the right people in. Not just throwing money. Newcastle right now should be going out and trying to buy everybody, shouldn't he? Everybody.
Yeah.
We're in the top
Well,
four.
that's the press,
That's
isn't it?
isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go and buy everybody. If there's a striker, why aren't they in for Joao Felix? Why aren't they in for, whoever is the new kid on the block? Why aren't they? Because they've got a plan. That's what we're saying. We're not sitting here going, oh, they're amazing, Newcastle. I look at Newcastle and just go, they're quietly going about. They probably look at where they are now and go, we are miles ahead of where we thought we were.
Yeah.
But what we're not going to do is allow that to change the plan that we've got to make this club bit by bit. But it's great, but let's not go mad.
Yeah.
This is the thing. They should be going. If this was, they should be going. Oh, let's go. But the fact that the people are coming out going, no, take one step at a time. It's great where we are, doing brilliantly, but let's not get ahead of ourselves because let's not ruin the plan. So it's not a case of money. It's a case of having a plan, and that's what Everton have never had under Farhad Moshiri. They've never had a plan. It's just been one branch to the other. Just grab all of that, grab all of that. Let's have a manager who does this. I know it didn't work. Let's go and get a manager who's completely different. Then let's go and get a manager who's completely different. Let's bring a director of football in. Let's get the director of football not to sack the guy. We used to sack him. Let's bring another manager in who brings his own recruitment team and who doesn't work with the director of football, which leads to the director of football basically not having a job for 6 months, because that's what Marcel Brands was doing. Marcel Brands was wearing tank top sweaters and going to posh coffee shops in Liverpool for 6 months and 6 months afterwards, because he did not have a job under Benitez, because Benitez brought in his own people and they did all that.
Yeah.
So Brands is lining up Denzel Dumfries, and behind his back, Benitez is going,
yeah, don't even want him. Yeah, don't want him.
So he's doing all that work, getting Dumfries, getting him lined up, gonna do this, gonna do that. Benitez is behind the back going, we're not. That's what happened. That's literally what happened. He brought two fellas with him that he's had for years, and they basically disbanded our entire recruitment team. That's what happened. And Farhad Moshiri allowed that to happen, by the way. And Bill stand back going, nothing to do with me. It's not my man. You're the chairman of the club then. Do something about it. No, nothing to do with me. Not me. So when Marcel Brands is approached in the main stand and someone says to him what's going on, he goes, you think this is me? He meant it. He meant it.
Absolutely. So yeah, and what I'm saying about Newcastle is they were in a terrible place a year ago with a board. They replaced it and obviously kicked on. Didn't he? Got what they wanted and kicked on.
Everton have done something today.
Go on.
They've got Tommy Fleetwood walking around the new ground.
Fair play to him. Ben Turner says, new sub and Leeds United fan here. Not a Toffee, but enjoy watching the content. Think we can relate to a lot of issues at the moment. Yeah, I mean, Leeds are another one, aren't they? Big club, big fan base. Want the club to... What I would say, though, Ben, is you are trying to buy younger players with sell-on value, aren't you? And you've got players who you can turn around. Leeds have done really well since they got up. I know you want to do better than the first season. It was better, obviously, than last season, but it is frustrating. You want to get to a stage where you're able to kick on, and we've got nobody to blame but ourselves for where we are. Absolutely. The system's flawed in terms of FFP. It's massively flawed, because saying we can spend X amount of our income is great, but that compared to X amount of Manchester United's income is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. So FFP, the clubs who were already at the lead and the march on everybody have pulled a ladder up. And it's why the only way Newcastle get up there and flex the muscles is by having a plan over a number of years. And to keep doing better, they'll increase revenues, then they can use their money a bit better. Without doing that, you end up like we are, trying to spend to jump over 3 or 4 clubs at the time. If you do it wrong, and you're a weak owner, which is what we've got, who listens to fellas who just want to line their pockets by getting players who were nowhere near as good as what we had on 3 times the wages, instead of listening to people who know about football, you end up where Everton are. And so, that's for Leeds. whether Orta's good enough or whether they want different people in charge. At least the one thing I would say about Leeds, you might tell me a bit different, but the one thing I would say looking from the outside is at least they kind of buy in players with the right profile. Now, okay, some of them mightn't be good enough in the long run. Only time will tell, but it seems like they're buying like players 20 to 22.
Being proactive, aren't they?
You know, and at least they'll be young and hungry and can be shaped. And they've also had players coming through in the academy, you know, Gellard, Goodall, you know, Chrysenio Somerville, who's done really well.
Interesting. Arsenal are going to make an announcement at 6 o'clock about the Emirates Stadium.
Going to change the sponsors or making it bigger?
No, I don't think you'd put a new area for the Emirates Stadium and then change the name to something else.
I'm saying,
no, they must be giving it.
They must be
giving it an upgrade or something.
Bigger or something, yeah.
Interesting. There you
Very
go.
interesting. On the up, aren't they? On the up.
That's the best. You won't get that because that's from the documentary. But that's the picture he drew on the thing when he was doing a team talk.
And what was that supposed to be?
He was like, heart equals brain equals team fans. Top of the league, mate. It must work.
Yeah.
It works, mate.
But that's the problem.
That's the problem. Frank Lampard can't draw.
No,
that's
it.
the problem.
We're wrecked. Paul Lake says if Everton go down, will Toffee TV cut down?
No,
output?
We'd be doing
or will
more.
you continue as normal? If Everton are in the Championship, it will be needed more than ever. We'll be doing more. And we'll get better access because it won't be the Premier League. So, there you go. Will Brightmore says Toffee TV will never die.
It will never die.
Never.
I'll be
telling
doing
you
this till
now.
I'm 85 years of
Telling
age.
you now.
Because I can't afford not to.
Yeah, that's it.
Baz has got to pay for his car.
The Blues says, so what you're saying is, if we get rid of the owner and board, we could do what Newcastle do.
We could do what Newcastle could do right now if people just changed what they were doing at the football club. Right now, we could change. It's not a case. It's not as easy as just saying sack everybody. We have said that. We said this last night. It's the problem. The problem I think we've both got with the football club, right, is it's institutionalized. The same people have been working at the club for years. They don't get sacked. They move sideways. So all the ideas are the same. If you've got Bill Kenwright, who's been there for nearly 30 years, and he has an idea, and the idea then runs to Denise Barabaknell, and the people she employs runs into them, and you have this institutionalised idea of how to do things, you're not going to get away from that. The media team are probably sitting there going, I'd love to do this, I'd love to do that, and I'd love to get Kevin Felwell to do an interview, and I'd love to get Frank on once a week and all that. And they're like... The club are like, no, we don't. That's not how we do things at Everton Football Club. So while everyone else is evolving and moving forward and going forward into the 21st century onwards, we're sitting there going, this is how you do things. And it's not. It's an institutionalised problem at Everton Football Club. The owner could keep owning it and just sit back and get good people in to run the football club. Modern people. This is what I keep saying. Said it last night. It's not a case of sacking the board. It's about it's transitioning. And I know that doesn't fit well in a song. It's about transitioning on the board from what it is now into something new. You bring in fresh, new ideas, and then you get Bill Kenwright to stand down. Denise Barabaknell goes and does something else eventually, and you transition into new modern thinking where people come in and go, "This is how you do things in the modern era." It's not about This is why Farhad Moshiri could sell, yes, or he could not sell. He could not sell, sit back and go, I'm going to let a young, hungry, dynamic new CEO take this club forward. That's what companies do. That's what failing companies do. They don't just, the guy who owns, I don't know, Pepsi or whoever doesn't go, I'm selling to the next fella. He goes, go and get me that fella over there. Disney did it recently. Disney has been on its ass. So they brought back Bob Iger, who had all the ideas, who's a genius. And they brought him back because the last fella was a dick and he was ruining it for everyone. That's what big companies do. It's not a case of just selling up and then we get a new set of people in. It's about, we sold up, but we kept the institution on at Everton, which was Bill Kenwright. And I'm not having a pop at him. It's not a personal thing. He's an old man. He sees things very much differently from modern executives on the way up. He has Denise Barabaknell as the buffer, but she's just one of his gang. She comes from the school of Bill. That we've got to get rid of that. We've got to get rid of that of this football club. He has got to go. He's 77 years of age. Step down and then start changing the narrative. That's what's got to happen. And until it does, we will. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's what we see about Newcastle. These guys bought it and just went, bye. See ya.
Yeah.
See you. See you. You're not good enough. You bring negativity to this club because they don't like you and you're not good. See ya. Go and work for House of Fraser or something, because that's where they'll be now, where they are just customers and it's not about seeing Newcastle last night. And I use Newcastle as a comparison because look where they were 12 months ago and look where we are. I mean, we were basically in the same place we are 12 months ago. Look where they are. And as Baz said, they haven't spent 300 million quid. They've gone in with a plan.
Apparently, they've spent 260 million.
Okay.
But what the funniest thing is stop talking nonsense. We can't spend that. But saying where they started, Everton have spent 600 odd million.
What don't people get?
I honestly, like I said, he's normally intelligent. He obviously isn't listening.
We spent that money. We've spent
but
that
they're talking
money.
like Newcastle have done this mad thing that Everton wouldn't. Everton have spent
They've done it.
600. We've already been there.
This is what we're saying.
And blew it. What we're saying is if someone buys us, you're talking like that's done now. Yeah. That's it. Everton and Newcastle are there. And this isn't me having a go at Newcastle, by the way. Newcastle have done things really well. But when I see some stuff, it just blows my mind. People's views on it. It's crazy.
Anyone who's watched me over the years knows my feelings towards Newcastle, right? But when I look at a club that has a plan and does things correctly, you have to stand back and go, you've done really well. You've done really well. You can only look at them and go, look what they've done. Go back 6 years, is it? Go back to that summer. All the money
Ben says if Newcastle can get a tune out of some of their players that were running jokes for a good while, i.e. Joe Linton and Almiron, then it shows how important tactics and confidence is. And that's the thing, isn't it? That is the thing as well. You've got to get that on side as well. Geordie Tune for Life, that's just shot up there, saying, where is it? Yeah. As you said, Baz, the big six have already had the infrastructure in place money-wise. Bringing in FFP stops other clubs trying to challenge their positions in the league, hence always being.
I wish FFP had been in when Fad Mashiri had come in. I really do. I really wish FFP had been in then, because then he wouldn't have been able to go out and spend all that money. And you'd have to do it properly, because that's what Newcastle face now, by the way, as well. So it is a slightly different set of rules with them. They do have to adhere to FFP, so they have to have a plan. We then were like, "Well, kids in a sweet shop, buy him."
There was no plan, was there?
There was no plan because you didn't need a plan then.
What does show you have a time? What aren't you listening to here? What aren't you listening to? I don't understand what you're not listening to. I don't know how many times I have to say it, right? I'm saying a year ago, Newcastle were in the bottom. They were bottom of the league, weren't they, at this time? Or they were in the bottom three. They got organised with the team. Okay, they brought players in who helped them. Absolutely, they did. A year later, the third. I'm not saying in 12 months Everton will be third and in a semi-final. I'm saying if Everton get organised, they can move up the league. That's not I don't know. I think I'm talking, slowly and calmly enough for people to understand what I'm saying.
I can understand.
In terms of where Newcastle end up, depends if Everton get bought by someone else, doesn't it? Quite clearly, because 18 months ago, Newcastle, everyone was laughing because not everyone was laughing, but what I mean is they weren't anyone. No one had their eyes on Newcastle, did they? Go, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Of course they didn't. So things can change. Evertonians want change. So when I say Newcastle were in the bottom three and look where they are now, I'm talking about the pitch, right? If Everton can get players to improve them on the pitch, surely they will climb the league. Makes sense. It's normally what happens. So therefore, that's what I'm saying. If you're reading it literally, what I'm saying and going, you're saying we can do what Newcastle done. Well, we've already had our go and royally cocked it up, didn't we? Yes, we did. So, like I said, normally I understand where you're coming from on this. It's like I'm talking a language you don't understand, which is fine, because that's what football is. It's all about opinions. I'm talking about literally improving enough so we can move away from where we are. The next phase of that will probably be the owner selling up and us getting people in who want to take Everton forward. The big difference probably between Everton and what Newcastle is, their owners and the people they've got want Newcastle to try and reach for the stars, where I don't think Everton have that. I think they have I'm not saying they sit there and don't go, I wish we could win the league. No. They don't go, we want to get there. How do we get to that point?
They think the way they're doing it will get them to the top, and it won't. It's proven. It won't. Yeah. They've made a cock up of it, and that's why they all have to go. And what Newcastle have done, if you want to use them as a comparison continually, is their new owners have come in and gone, see all you people who failed, you're not staying, goodbye. We didn't do that, and we are now in a situation that we've been in for the last few years because we have the same people doing the same jobs and are continuing to fail, and those people will not leave Everton Football Club. And it might take, or I think a lot of us feel now, what it will take is Everton to be sold for it to be cleaned out, cleaned out.
Absolutely.
That's the problem. What Newcastle, and this is what we're saying, and I think this is what you've got to get in your head, is Newcastle have a plan, and that's part of the reason why they're doing well. But it's not, they're not getting ahead of themselves. They're not going out and spending loads of money this window, are they? They're going, no, we're sticking to our plan. And it's about, that's what they've done brilliantly.
Maybe Everton are doing a plan now, and the plan is you haven't got a lot of money and they're having to think, maybe that's where it is, but it doesn't help, does it? Because everyone can see that there's just a huge hole in the final third in terms of creativity, in terms of goals. Goals are the biggest thing, aren't they? But even with confidence and coaching, Joe Linton couldn't hit a bull's ass with a banjo. Neither could Almiron. They've moved this position. They've coached them. They've given confidence. The lad scored again last night. Almiron hadn't scored a goal for about 2 years, and the next minute he's got 9, I think, this season. Confidence. They've got a structure. They buy into it. That's what it's about. Everton have got players there, and as I've said it before, and again, speaking to a couple of people around football, who are football people, over the last couple of days, are like, there's not a chance this squad should be anywhere near where it is. It's not great, but if you put the best Everton players in a structure, they will be clear of any kind of threat because the players are good enough. We can look at it as fans and go, I don't think he's good enough and he's good.
Don't agree.
No, and that's fine.
There's no goals in the
team. That's fine, but the one that stands out more than anything is there's no history of goals bar Dominic Calvert-Lewin in that team.
It's always going to be the problem.
And that's key.
It's always going to be the problem.
Especially when you're letting things in at the back. So,
we're going to do the preview.
Well done. Hang on. Matthew Barry says, if we got Dan Hume, do you think it'll mean Lampard will persist with 4-3-3? Possibly. But Mark Mack says the most Everton thing ever would be for us to buy 2 wingers in this window and then play 5-3-2. Well, maybe.
Is it literally, this has just popped up on my feed.
Go on.
Nick Pope, Sven Botman, Kieran Trippier and Dan Burn combined cost of around £67 million. There you go. There's your defence. There's your defence. Cost, that's £3 million less than Chelsea paid for Wesley Fofana. There you go. There's a plan. There's your numbers. There's a defence. There's a goalkeeper. Not rocket science if you do it properly. If you've got a plan, you know what you want. There you go. We're done.
GC, hello, mate. Yeah, we're done.
Right.
Go and enjoy the afternoon. Go on. Whatever you're doing.
We'll be back.
Hit the like button and subscribe.
5:00. We're doing the phone in.
Oh, yeah.
Loads of callers last week. Let's have that again. Let's have all your opinions. See you later.